The excitement rushed through me walking through the door. I had just been accepted into my dream academy that would get me on my way to a bright future that I was happy to chase. I'm nervous when I see the table to meet them. What if they don't like me? What if they don't think I'm good enough? What if they tell me my experience is garbage? All these questions ran through my head as I sat down at the table. I wanted a fresh start after middle school. Everything was ruined and it gave me a lot of setbacks. But I managed to get out of it the best I could get. I still bear the scars they gave me and suffer while they thrive. But new school, fresh start, right? I meet the president of the academy. He was really nice. He remembered me from the open house. It felt like I already had a place to start. But then the vice president came over. The first thing he said to me felt like a punch in the gut. It was a name that hurt me in middle school. I felt like crap, but didn't let it show. I'd barely been here 5 minutes and I already want to leave. Regardless, I told him that I don't go by that name anymore after all the trouble it caused me, and I'd prefer if it was something that would stay in middle school. He apologized and said he wouldn't do it again, but I didn't believe him. I just let it go and try not to let it get to me. Fast forward a few days, weeks, months, he still continues to do such things, and every time I said something, he would always say the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. But then one, he would. I got tired of it and just brushed it off. I kept him at arm's length and just focused on my films and work. I was a part of 2 production companies minus my own freshman year, and I worked my ass off to get to where I was by the end of that year. I grew closer with the president, and he taught me a lot. I still to this day apply what he taught me, and I look up to him, as well as the overlord. His vice president, however, wasn't my biggest fan. He never put in the effort with me that the president did. Not trying to sound entitled, but it hurt. I didn't see him do it with other people either. It wasn't just me. But he was for the most part nice, and we got along for a working relationship. But then I found out who his friends were. The choir bitches and theater brats. The whole reason my life so early went to shit. That's how he knew who I was before I got there. That's why he didn't stop bullying me. I knew even more in that moment that I could never trust him. Fast forward to sophomore year for me. It was sad seeing the president go. He was a good friend and really driven. But I knew it wouldn't be the last time I saw him. However, I was stuck with the old president, who then later in the year became the president in his place. But that's not for a while. First, we start here. We now have class together, but for the first few months he was online. He couldn't be at school because he wasn't even in America. He was in Canada and wouldn't be back until after Thanksgiving break. I could see he was getting better. I mean, when he came back, he still made his remarks, but stopped for the most part for a while. He even made me a video for my Thanksgiving Day project. He didn't even mind refilming it so many times because of the audio. I was so shocked watching his video that he was thankful to have a friend like me. Apparently, I'm the only one who's asked him to do something like this. He also got the secretary and old president to send me one so that way I would have enough. He didn't have to do that. Fast forward to the winter, I pitched a short film idea to do a modern version of the Christmas Carol called A Christmas Carol. I get approved and immediately get to work on the script. I spent relatively over a week on it and even worked on it backstage of our winter showcase rehearsals to get it done. I worked day and night and was happy with the final product and couldn't wait to get started. However, I was stage manager of our showcase and had to wait till it was over. But when I wasn't doing that, I was working on this. I decided to make this an only seniors production, which means I would only cast seniors, from the lead to the narrator. So I decided to make the head anchor my main character, and I asked the vice president to be a spirit. I even got Captain involved. I sent them all the script to read and look over, so by the time the showcase was over, we could film. The vice president was working on the winter showcase as well. His job was to film and edit. He looked to me for help, and I gave it. We worked well together, but I ended up on a show night crying. The leader of the theater brats was mad that I was doing my job, essentially, and made me feel like shit. I was doing my job. I was just doing more than I was asked to fix things that you weren't taking care of. I ran backstage and cried. The vice president said that he saw me run back there, but didn't know why. When I explained, he said he was sorry and didn't see, and would have told her off if he did. That night I thought about him, and everything. He made me a Thanksgiving Day video, got 2 more people so I would hit my mark, agreed to be in my short film, as well as begged me to use his equipment for it to look amazing, and said he would have defended me if he knew what was going on. It was really nice to hear, and I started to rethink how I felt about him. Maybe he really did change. Maybe I was wrong about him. I decided to let my guard down and accept him as my friend. How big of a mistake that was. The entire time we were filming, it was so difficult to get anything done the further we got into it. It wasn't all him, but he wasn't helping either. After everything he offered and was doing, I named him my co-director, as well as other things, and he wasn't helping me keep things in order. If anything, he was making it worse. The amount of panic attacks I had, and times I've tried to have fun and not seem like the evil director, is beyond me. Honestly, if it wasn't for my head anchor and everything he had done for me, I would have scrapped the entire thing and probably would have strangled the vice president. I've lost count how many times I didn't send that message. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, that we were scrapping the entire movie. My head anchor stopped me every time. I hated working with him, and my whole crew, minus my head anchor and the one who played his brother in the film, and Captain, of course. They actually listened. It was now Christmas break, and we were not done filming. We had not even half a scene left, but because of last-minute cancellations and goofing off by them, I didn't get to put it out on Christmas like I wanted. I then received a message the first day of winter break from the vice president, and that was when I realized I should have listened to my gut. He said all of these things to me, that he finds it really hard to be around me, that he immediately gets a headache and is stressed when I walk into the room, insulted that I named him my assistant, and said he never agreed to it, but went along because I was the director, but still hated it, asking me why I had to be so physical with poking and jabbing, etc., saying that I'm in his space all the time, that he dreads working with me, hates my voice and my demeanor, saying that I'm so mean to him and treat him like crap, and that actions speak louder than words, that I can thank him to the moon and back, and it still won't make up for everything I had done, and that this would be his last personal project with me, to not ask him for any more help, and doesn't think I'll need it anyway, because he's nothing but a mere assistant. That is the shortened version. The second I read that message, my heart dropped and I felt like shit. How could I let this happen to myself? Lots of things in that message were lies and over-exaggerated to make me seem worse, and that he was the victim when he was far from it. I never labeled him my assistant. He gave himself that all on his own. I named him more things and gave him more credit than I did myself, and I wrote the shit. He was my co-director, co-editor, audio editor, cameraman, and I even gave him a part in the damn movie. How is that not giving him credit and labeling him my assistant? If me being mean to you made you dread working with me, that I make you feel like crap when you put in the work, that I basically hurt your ego, 2 things. 1, I don't want to be mean, and I don't just jump to being a bitch when we work together. You make me that way by not doing your job and goofing off when we have work to do. Especially giving me the excuse that it's after Christmas, so there's no need to rush, so what's the big deal? That means nothing. You see how this works? You're nice, I'm nice. You're aggressive, I'm aggressive. Or you do your job and not completely goof off, and I will have fun with you, and we will still get it done. And 2, if you can't handle me, how do you expect to be in the real world? That everyone's gonna see your name and bow down and kiss the ground you walk on? I don't think so. I'll give him the credit that he knows that I'm the director and says director's choice and things like that, but he sure doesn't give me the respect of one and basically needs me to spoon feed him on how to do his job. I would love to see him get further out there just to see how hard it is and see that no one cares about his feelings in the industry he wants to be in. That directors only care about getting the job done, and if you don't listen, you get fired. There may be some chill ones out there, but to assume that they're all that way is ridiculous. I'm nothing compared to Tim Burton, Clint Eastwood, Alejandro G. Iñárritu. Enjoy your fantasy world. We finally held our meeting in January to decide who would be taken over as our new president and everything that followed. Because we couldn't have a real meeting with everyone in the academy, it was just the three stuck-ups, the head anchor, me, and E. I dreaded going to that meeting because I knew they all hated me, except E and my partner, and 3 against 3 was not ideal. At the end, we decided to move everyone up one, which was only 2 because Bitch became the vice president because she was secretary, and the vice president became president, or as he is shown and is known for, the cold-hearted president. When it came to the 4 of us, Duck became secretary, which completed the stuck-up trio, and I was given the position by our captain, mind you, the officer's position to run social media. He gave that to me to run last year, and I continued to do such this year. But then all of them said that they wanted my partner, the head anchor, to take over social media, give E historian because that's what she wanted and they agreed, and make me treasurer. Mind you, we don't take in any money. We have funds. So the 3 stuck-ups just wanted to knock me down and to just sit and look pretty. They even demanded days beforehand to give him the passwords to my partner, and the vice president at the time lied to me and said he wanted to do it. He must think I'm stupid and believe him. Does he forget I have his number and know how he is? I'm more his friend than you are. I found out that he lied and doesn't want to do it, has any desire to do it, and didn't even want to be an officer. He was forced to come. He had no idea what the cold-hearted president was talking about when I messaged him and said it never happened. I look over at my partner and he said he thought I should have it. Even our captain was shocked. I had enough, and we finally decided that me and my partner would do it together and make E historian. I will say, I was happy to have my name on the board. I felt like I was finally working my way up. All the other officers were seniors. I was the only sophomore officer. I wasn't going down without a fight. My partner said to me in private that I could run it and he would be there for help if I needed it. I told him no, that he didn't have to and that we are supposed to run it together and it wasn't right. But he insisted. I respect that from him and I agreed. We finally got done filming in February. Nothing says Christmas like Happy Valentine's Day. As we were leaving, I told the cold-hearted president to let me know when it was all imported so we could set days to edit together. That was the beginning of February. It is now March, and I haven't heard anything about it. Granted, he had the Black History Month video and was finishing up the Chamber of Commerce videos, but you don't think it's right to simply just text, "Hey, I haven't forgotten about the Christmas film. You know I've been working on these videos and how important they are as well, so I'm behind, but just wanted to keep you updated since you're the director." Or, you see me every day, you can't just tell me? Is it really rocket science? I don't think it is. He complains to me about communicating when he isn't a peach himself. I don't like the cold-hearted president, and he doesn't like me. But he understands that he made a commitment to get this finished. Get your work done, by all means. That's not the issue. But communicate when I ask what's going on. That's all I ask. I decided that I would just tolerate him until he leaves. I only have 3 months left with him, and then I don't have to see him again. Then, for the next 2 years, I can focus on my club and my own production company. However, things aren't this easy in my life anyway. One day our captain was absent, as well as my partner. When I was asked who would be my partner in place of him, I said, well, since our class is really dead, I'll do it by myself since we need people back here. I've done it before. Cold-hearted president spoke up and said he doesn't recommend that. That my partner and Duck barely got it done yesterday, and that was 2 people. That I couldn't do it on my own. I told him I appreciate the concern, but I have done it before and can manage now. He looked annoyed but said fine. I then read the script and went to the stage. The bitch came out and said aggressively, if you don't get it done by 9 a.m., then we are putting someone else up there with you, okay? I told her okay, not really caring. I knew I was going to get it done. The prompt was having issues, though. Their karma, if you ask me. And then I was told I had until 9:05 to make it fair. Oh yeah, an extra 5 minutes. Wow, what a treat. Regardless, it didn't matter. We start and I get it done in 1 take. The look on the cold-hearted president's face was everything through that window. I was so proud of myself and was on the high for the rest of the morning. I then live stream it to the channel and send the email. But it was cold-hearted president's job to put it on the website because he knew the login information. Long story short, he couldn't remember and gave up trying and told me to email it to someone else. I asked him if he was sure and he said yes. I wasn't that confident in him though, so I emailed it to the person Captain said, but also did to the person he said in case he were to check. Him and bitch just sat there on their phones and told me to figure it out because he doesn't know. I texted Captain, however, and he was confused and said that she knew the login information and how to do it, referring to bitch. I'm not shocked at all and replied they didn't step up and just sat there on their phones. So that day went from being my high to a low in a matter of minutes because it wasn't all staffed or on the website. I posted it, but no one really checks that. The only people that saw it, to my knowledge anyway, were my partner at home, my teacher, and that's because I'm in his class and told him to look at the channel when he asked if there was any news, my father at work, and my mother. However, my mom tells me that my last name was spelled wrong when she watches it and was frustrated. He asked me before we filmed how to spell my last name, and he said it back to me letter by letter, which made me think he did it on purpose. I was exhausted more than anything and just decided that I was going to deal with it. My mother, however, wasn't having it. She already hated the cold-hearted president and wanted to go off on him multiple times for things that he's done to me, and I guess this was the final straw for her. I told her to just leave it alone, that it's just 3 more months, and I don't have to worry about him anymore. But she messaged him without my knowledge, and I guess it was the final straw for him as well. The next day I noticed he was acting a little strange, but I didn't ask why, obviously. I then get home, and my mom asked me if the cold-hearted president said anything, and I said he was acting a little strange, but I didn't ask. Why was she asking? And that's when she tells me what happened, and I asked her why. She then tells me he responded, and that she hadn't read it yet because she was waiting for me, so she gave me her phone, and I read it after I read what she said to him. The more I read his response, the more my heart sank and the more upset I got. He played the victim to her more than he did to me. He turned it from my name being messed up into everything else that had happened. He started it by saying how unprofessional it was for her to even message him since he is a student and she is an adult/parent. Now, while I don't agree with what she did, he is 18. I know, he may act like a crybaby, but yes, he is sadly an adult. And he should not have responded to her in the way that he did and what he said to another adult, especially a parent. That was unacceptable. Saying that I never corrected them on my name and that no one, including me, said anything about it, that I spelled it out for them, and that he even referred to the whiteboard with it on it, that I'm hypocritical and shouldn't be critiquing them, especially with names when I mess up a lot and can't say names correctly. And that every time I mess up and they say something, I threaten them and don't make the change. Saying to my mom that I seem to be raised to demand respect without giving it first. Saying I walk into the room as if I own the place and causes an undesirable work environment. That it's not just first period. That others, even teachers, are aware of the conflict between us and have shared the concerns about me to him in passing. Before I continue with everything else, he said, I want to address this section first because the next part has to do with my movie. It is true that I spelled out my name for him and it was still spelled wrong. Now, if he referred to the whiteboard like he said he did, why was it still spelled wrong when it's definitely spelled right on that board? So that was a lie to save his skin, or maybe his brain is just that small. Most likely both. The next part really ticks me off. I am Italian, so I have a little bit of an accent. But it's so small that it just shows itself on certain words. Just how I used to say jewelry and deodorant as an example. Some words, especially names, I physically cannot say because of my accent. And the cold-hearted president knows this because he loves to pick on me for it. With the way I say words ended in ing. Randomly, he will ask me to say them just so he can hear what I sound like, so he can laugh. So, he knows how I speak, and they waited a whole week of that announcement to tell me I was saying it wrong anyway! Once they did, I apologized and tried to say it right. That's when I realized I couldn't, and it was because of my accent. He knew what I was talking about and said, okay, everyone else heard that too. So wouldn't you get annoyed and frustrated if you told someone you physically cannot fix it and they tell you that you're saying it wrong after every single wrong shot? That's the part he conveniently left out because what else is new? Also, how dare you, an 18-year-old boy, disrespect another adult and criticizing her on how she raised her daughter? What room do you have to do that? You said that I'm disrespectful when you have zero room to talk. I don't know if you noticed, but I worked my ass off in that room and made so many sacrifices for it, and it's none of your business to know what they are. I did so much in that room to the point where it's like my second, actually first home to me. So for you to say that I walk in and demand respect is such a bullshit lie that it makes me laugh. If anything, you as a senior being there for so long and now being a cold-hearted president, that's demanding respect without giving it to others. Except your yes men like Bitch and Duck who are stuck up your own ass and will agree with everything that you say. Also, I don't know what teachers you are talking to because they sure aren't mine, so they know nothing about me. All my teachers love me and admire how hard I work. I'm on my biology teacher's bowling team because he needed the help, and he is grateful for it. And by the way, the ones that do know about it because they see I'm not my usual self and ask me what's wrong and I share, are on my side and say that you are acting like a child. You can say that's only because I'm giving my side and go right ahead. But unlike you, I tell the truth and say what you have done, and they still agree. They see your side, yes, but they don't like what you do. Now on to my movie. He said, upon coming to him with this project idea, he was excited. Has never seen a completed full-length project to the scale of what I pitched. Leading up to the project, though, I apparently was not his favorite person by far, in his words. But he greatly appreciated my enthusiasm for the Academy. Upon me sending him the script, though, his enthusiasm wore off. He was quickly done, as he said, with many spelling and grammar errors, nothing close to a final product, but that's what I gave him and what we had to work with. He said since it was my first project, though, he couldn't fault me and expect everything to be perfect, because no one is. Which is why he is totally fine with me being up on stage for the news every morning despite my multiple reading errors. Now, I didn't go directly to him with it. I pitched it to the class and he asked me about it. He said that he wanted to help and begged for me to use his equipment. When he texted me and said if I need anything from him to just let him know that he can bring his gimbal, his camera, his boom mic, I told him it was fine and I was going to film it on my camera and I was going to edit it. I asked him for his boom mic to get better audio since he offered, but he kept saying that we can use everything and that he wants to help. That he will help me with editing anything I needed, and eventually I gave in and agreed. That was when I named him my co-director and cameraman because I was giving him credit for something that he offered. But of course he diverts from it and makes me seem worse and that I'm using him, especially in the message that he sent to me. Then he said from the second that he got the script, he hated it and basically said it wasn't ready. I worked so hard on that script and revised it so many times before I printed it and sent it out to them. I could have been doing other things and didn't have to even bring this up, but I chose to because I love this place and haven't done anything like this for a while. If he hated it so much, I'd rather him just quit. He was all excited to work with me, but then the second he read the script before we even started filming, he hated it and me? That actually hurt more than anything because I love my writing style and put in my work into words. And I purposely wrote it in Old English because even though it's a modern version, I wanted to give it the same aspect as the original had. That was the point. Don't like my writing. That's fine. You don't have to love my writing. But I know that there wasn't that many errors for you to lose enthusiasm to work on it. And most of them, to you, probably were part of the Old English. You guys even said things like, "Why is it worded that way?" Or, "That makes no sense," when that's the way they spoke that back then. Just ask Shakespeare. For him to also say that this was my first big project was insulting. I have done many things like this before in the past, and a lot longer than him. Remind me how you got into this academy again? Oh, that's right. You followed your little girlfriend at the time into it to spend more time with her, but then she dumped you and you wanted to quit. If it wasn't for our captain, you wouldn't have stayed. This isn't what you wanted, like it was/is for me. Don't come and talk to me like I'm this little baby who doesn't know what she's doing. My first in a while, yes, you got me there. But to assume it was rude. Especially when you don't have to assume. You know it's not. I've told you about projects that I've done, and I've shown you some of my rough draft ones in passing. This is not my first rodeo, especially with people like you. But the difference between you and them is they at least apologize when they know that they're wrong when it's done. And even if they don't like what you are doing, they just give their advice and keep the respect. Something you say I lack when I think it's the other way around. Again, I'm sorry that I have an accent that I can't control. I shouldn't even be apologizing for something that I can't. So, when I mess up things, especially names because of how some are pronounced, I can't help it. Normal errors, yes. I can apologize for those. Sometimes I mess up. So do you when you're up there. At least you had the common sense to acknowledge the part where you say no one's perfect. He then continued, saying that when the set just becomes the classroom, I have the habit of complaining about the cold-hearted president and his work, and then expected him to shrug it off and just continue being my assistant, as he claims I've put it. He then asked my mom how she would feel putting many hours of her time and donating her equipment to a project just to have the director complain and belittle her, that he's experienced it firsthand and that it's terrible. He said he's tried to come to me about his grievances a little while back, and to all his points, I never apologized, gave no resolution, just gave him something along the lines of, "Get used to it." I love dissecting his long message to my mother, and everything actually. It's fun seeing what he left out, over-exaggerated and whatnot. With this part, he said that I talk crap and complained about him in class, and expect him to just shrug it off and continue being my assistant, as he put it, for the last time. That's how you put it, not me. You know what I said and what's in the credits. Anyone, especially my head anchor, can tell you that. Please, by all means, dock yourself. I could care less. But don't go crying to our captain or your girlfriend or anyone else and say something different, because I don't appreciate it. And of course, I'm going to tell my friends what you are doing to me and how you're making me feel and things like that, especially when they are there to witness it and ask me what's wrong. I'm not just pulling this out of my ass and talking shit. I'm telling them exactly what you're doing. Simple. Then asking my mother how she would feel if she was in your place, hoping she would sympathize and offer a tissue. Please, cry me a river. I should have casted you as the victim in my movie. I said it before on my interviews, to Captain, to you, and to anyone who asks me. I am grateful for your equipment. I am thankful for your time and everything that you've offered with me without me asking for anything more than just you being in it. I never belittled you. If anything, I'm told I gave you too much credit, and to all of my crew actually, and not enough for myself, even though I wrote it and such. That's because you all deserve it. I may have wrote it, but without any of you, it never would have been made. That's why in my green screen video, I thanked everyone and talked about everyone instead of myself, especially went on about you. I could have talked about where I got my idea, what made me want to do this, how it felt to see it. Even in my interview for the yearbook, I told them what it was about, yes, but continued to talk about you and my partner. I never said that you weren't important to this, which is what belittling means. I gave you more of the spotlight, and I do regret it. I worked my ass off, and I got the short end of the stick. I was grateful when really I see that you are selfish. I should have labeled you as that and treated you like shit. At least then you would be telling the truth. Another thing, I've been treated that way before too. By you. I've put many hours of my time into that script for just for you to say that you hate it to my mother and that it's all we have to work with. You belittled me and made me feel like shit since we started the filming process. Actually, no, you were fine at the start. You over time got worse. I don't know what it was, but I didn't get it. And it's what made me that way. Again, I don't want to be. And it didn't make me happy. But I didn't have a choice, so we could get it done and go home. I wasn't always in charge of things that I've worked on or done, so I know what it's like to be in what you've claimed I did to you. I know it's terrible, but I had to suck it up and just complain at home. I didn't let it get in the way of the job. I gave my opinions, yes. Recommendations, yes. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they tell me to go fuck myself. But at least we all had a level of work respect. Also, yes, you have brought some of your concerns to me, especially in that message you sent me over the break. That part was true. However, I responded back with everything acknowledging and debunking some of the things that you said, but at the end of the message I said, let me know when you want to talk. Because I wanted to talk this out, because I was confused on a lot of it and didn't know why me giving you credit and showing my appreciation was such a bad thing. And wanted to know why. He never answered that message and never brought it up again. By the way, I don't owe you an apology for how you treated me and what you put me through. I already was the bigger person for things that I did do. I don't owe you any more. And what do you mean, no resolution? You never wanted to talk to establish anything. That's not on me. I did try to talk to you. You didn't want to. And now you're twisting my words? I won't stand for that. When I said, get used to it, which I didn't even say those words, but granted, he said something along the lines of in that sentence. But don't put words in my mouth when you can't remember. I was referring to when I said that it's so much worse out there and you're complaining and crying about me. I never said get used to it. I said it'll be worse when you work with real long-time directors instead of me, so to be careful. Also, in contrast to the poking and jabbing, I do that to everyone. Granted, you can make the argument that it's probably not the best idea for me to do, but it's how I show my love. I am not your typical girly girl, as it is. I am a girl, yes, but most of my friends are guys, and we, guys, as in a general dynamic, buddy punch each other, squabble a little bit, play fight. It's normal, especially when you're a little kid. So in my case, when I am friends with somebody, and you can ask anybody that I'm friends with, I buddy punch them, poke them a little, and things like that. When it gets to the next level of being really, really aggressive is when I warn you multiple times that you're pissing me off, and then I say, hey, please stop or I'll do this. Please stop, I'm warning you. I remember I warned him 3 times before I hit him with my binder. Long story. He was making me cry at one of our shoots, and I come back from the bathroom crying, and he's like, so, how are you? And I say, please leave me alone. He then does it and continues, and I hit him with my binder. Even after I hit him with it and say, don't do it again, he does it again and I hit him with my binder again. So that's his own problem. Granted, you could make the argument that I shouldn't have done it anyway, and granted, I see your point. That is a completely perspective thing of how everyone handles their own situations, even if it was like a kid's environment. But my normal poke it and jab it, I do to everyone. You can ask Head Anchor himself. I do it to him. If it really, really bothers somebody, I explain myself and then I don't do it anymore, or I do it a lot less. All of my friends are used to it. All of my friends do it back to me. I'm not hypocritical. You want to do it to me? Do it to me. I don't give a flying fuck. So I don't see the general issue with that per se there. But for him to attack me and to say like I do it just to do it is not right at all. The last thing he attacked me for was my volume. He goes on and explains that him, as well as others, have mentioned my volume, saying that the room could be at a level 2 and that I'll still be at a 10. He said he was not sure about my response to the others, but to him, I told him that everyone is used to it and that's just me. He said, and I quote, "Excuse me for being extreme, but in a courtroom situation, that's just me, cannot be accounted for a defense, even though that is how she fundamentally is." He said it's something that can be worked on, that he tries to encourage me to, but in the classroom, I cause a disruption to the flow of traffic, if you will. By constantly being at so much a higher of a volume than everyone else, he continues and says it's not just my volume. There's a tendency to get in your face when talking to me, saying during a pandemic it's unacceptable and students complain about it. Not only that though, I pull my mask down to make sure you can hear me. He personally tries to take a few steps back every time I approach him, and he knows others do too. I know that my volume, as he put it, can be loud. I naturally talk loud. My family, as well as others in my real life, know that while my voice is at a lower range than most females, I do have a high pitch in my voice. I have a natural loud talking voice. Mostly, everyone is used to it. Yes, it is me. Yes. But you're making it sound so much worse than it is. It's like my accent. I can't control it. For the most part, anyway. I can fix my volume when I realize it. But I also can't monitor it all the time. That's crazy. I don't do it on purpose, and I do work on it. But I can't completely, permanently fix it. That's why my dad wanted me to go into politics and law, because of my voice. Speaking of law, yes, you were a little extreme with the courtroom analogy, especially when that's not what I meant, nor what exactly I said. You always twist my words and make me sound worse than I am, and things like that. You should go work for the Wall Street Journal for how much you love to take things out of context and make me sound worse. I apparently disrupt the flow of the control room due to my voice when I don't get how. If anything, you guys have told me in past news episodes that I'm too soft. You guys have had the floor manager say it for me to be louder all the time. My head anchor can vouch for that. Also, cold-hearted president, if you don't remember, you can ask my partner this as well. I was very shy and quiet when I first got there. I mainly kept to myself because I am really an introvert. When I'm in a new environment, like when we first met, I really kept quiet. I start to talk more and things when I get more comfortable and see who's nice and who's not, get a lay of the land. The head anchor said to me the same thing when we started working together about how shy I seemed, and now I talk to him all the time. Regardless, I'm sorry about my volume. I've been working on it since I was little, but I can't do a complete 180 like you want. Love the pandemic route you went down. It really tied this bullshit text together. I pulled down my mask to be heard, yes, because some people can't understand you. I see it at my job all the time with people and also in classrooms. But you're acting like it's this big crime. Oh, I should be thrown in jail to make sure you hear me. How dare I? You seem to not understand anything that I say while reading this message. You sent and love twist in my words that maybe I don't speak loud enough. But by all means, take a few steps back. It's not my head that needs cleaning. Now, the last part of the message was about my mother. Keep in mind, the only reason that he sent this entire message that I've been breaking down was all because she pointed out that my name was spelled wrong on the news and wanted to tell him about it and to just be careful because of how much it means to our family and to her. That was it. And he sends all of this because his ego was shattered. He ends it by saying that she has a right to disagree with every single thing that he said. She's my mother. He's an 18-year-old kid. But that's what he had a huge problem with. She went to him saying, see, generally when a parent has an issue with something in their child's classroom, they go to the teacher, the person in charge that oversees everything in the classroom. But she went to the cold-hearted president. If she had approached the captain, he would have sat us down, the whole class, and explained to us the meaning of the news and how we must maintain integrity and treat others with respect and as equals. But she went to him. That if she truly wanted anything to be resolved, to not go through my phone to find an 18-year-old kid's number, to then complain about how he hurt her feelings, saying to correct him if he's wrong, but that's simply crossing the line, to let me handle these things too, that I'm going to be president of a club that doesn't exist yet, and yet my mother has to personally do my laundry for me, as he put it. Behind my back, nonetheless, going on and saying, this isn't about my name being misspelled. He couldn't care less how special it is. This is about respect, and how I'm lacking severely as of right now, especially due to her contact. He laughed and said no way when she messaged him because it is petty. He ended it with, personally, I'm ashamed for taking the time to respond to you. In Alyssa's words, I tried to be nice. Call me unprofessional, but then think back to who contacted who first. I'm looking forward to your response, if any. God, this boy makes my head pound and want to explode. Now, well, I agree that she should not have messaged you, especially when I told her to leave it alone and that I was going to just deal with you. It's nothing that I haven't done before. I do not agree with how you responded to her. My mom has her moments. I get pissed at her as much as the next person. I live with her. But how dare you speak to my mother like that? How dare you speak to another adult that way? How dare you think that that was something that was okay to do? If it was me as a parent and you did that to my daughter, I would definitely not be your favorite person even more. You're butthurt about the fact that she went to you instead of Captain and said what he would have done if she went to him. You know what's funny about that, though? Is that you already knew what he will say and do. Then why do you continue to do it? It's how you say it, too. It's like, he's already said this. Oh, wait. He has. I've lost count how many times Captain has sat us down as officers and as a whole class and said those things and more. I have even heard that he's had personal conversations with just you about things that you have said and done to me and things like that. And you still continue to do it. So you retain what he has said and talk to you about and just say, after everything. But don't listen and continue to disrespect me and walk all over me because I can't do anything? Well, that's where you're wrong. I'm going to skip over the club part right now because I'm going to come back to it later. How you ended it with saying, I've tried to be nice, and saying that it's my words, I never said that in my message to him. You can argue that it's good or bad, but I didn't say that in certain contexts. However, in his, I did not anyway. This entire message was full of lies, and I stand by everything that I've said. I feel that I have debunked everything that has been said, called out all of his lies, and also acknowledged his points, and retwisted them back to what they actually were. After reading that message for the first time, I couldn't even go to the studio the next day to work, and got permission to skip school. I had to take care of my brother anyway since my parents had work, but if I didn't, I was going to be allowed to say to not be in that environment for a while. I sent this message to my partner like 5 minutes after reading that message. I won't be at school tomorrow. I have to take care of my brother, and honestly, if I didn't, I was going to not come anyway. I don't want to be there right now. I just a mess after what I just found out, and I can't take it anymore. I didn't know I was such a bad guy, that everything has to be turned on me, and I don't even get hurt, except by you. I'm sorry. I don't want to leave you again because I love doing the news with you, but I can't look at that room right now, and I have to take care of my brother to help my mother anyway. He responded saying to take all the time that I need and to remember that in 4 months, at the time of this message, they will be gone and I won't have to see them again. He apologized that I have to deal with this and that he will always be here for me. Honestly, if I didn't have my head anchor, I don't know what would have happened in that period of time. I really don't. He's the only senior, besides E, that I want to remain in contact with and work with. I will always offer them a spot to be on my production company until the day that I die. These are friends that you have for life. Plus, me and my head anchor want to go in the same field of acting and are in it now with our channels. He has a bigger one than me, but still. A week later, after that message was sent, I then find out that one of my mother's co-workers has messaged the cold-hearted president after she read his response that he sent to my mother. She said to him that she doesn't know what kind of stick he has up his ass, but needs to leave me alone. That she doesn't know what he knows about mental health, but he has begun to affect me in some pretty bad ways. Saying that I can be a pain sometimes, but it's only because I'm very passionate about what I'm doing and have a vision. And that people who work with me, like her, see that and understand after taking a step back. Also, she said, and I quote, "Don't you think it's a bit immature to play the victim card when you're 18 years old and an adult," in quotes? And she ends it by saying, I don't deserve his dumbass treating me like shit and doesn't care how cool he thinks he is for doing so, and says, "So I suggest you stop acting like you're all high and mighty because you know exactly what you're doing, and I know that that shit isn't gonna work." I did not find out that she messaged you until my mom texted me at school and said that, and I asked how she knew about it, and she said that she told her. Again, while I do not support nor condone it, I do agree with the sentiment that was said because it sounds very accurate. And his only response was, lol. To that which just made her more angry, and honestly, knowing that was his response just made me more depressed. The fact that that was his response to my mental health and everything that he was doing to me, I could probably write a suicide note and disappear, and he would probably just laugh and say, "Thank God she's gone." That is honestly disgusting, and I hope that you never go through anything that I've been through, because everything combined, especially one after the next and the next, plus losing so much, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So apparently 3 people, plus my mother, had messaged him. I only found out about 2. I, to this day, don't know who the 3rd person is, but regardless, the last message that I know about that he got was essentially the same thing, except she focused more on how he was hurting my mental health and things that he has done. So the end of this is that Captain says that he is going to set up a meeting where me and the cold-hearted president will be able to talk about this civilly and then go at each other. I didn't think he was serious because I told him I was okay, but he noticed, as well as others that don't know anything, that I was more depressed than usual and wasn't my normal self, which was true. Last March, I really hit a rough point in my depression and was working on bettering it despite everything that was still happening, but I at least had a control on it and was getting better. However, that threw me a curveball and threw it off balance and put me in a bad state. But I was dealing with it and had my friends, and that's all that mattered. So we have the meeting, and he doesn't even acknowledge the whole filming process and what was going on then, and I talk first. So when he did, he said he doesn't even think that was the issue and continued to bash my mother and say that the problems were with her. He honestly can't take any responsibility for himself. It felt like nothing was accomplished in that meeting. It felt more of a waste of time than anything. Basically, we came to the same conclusion that me and the cold-hearted president came to without even talking. However, one thing that he brought up was my home life. He knows that I have problems at home with my father and such, that I bring that into the studio, and that it really affected my relationship with him and the other classmates. I never wanted to go off on someone more. Sure, sometimes I come in upset, but Captain sees me, hugs me, and makes me feel better. My partner always makes me laugh and tells me that things will get better. But also, doing the news with him makes me smile and forget about everything. He basically shamed me for it and said I was taking it out on them when I don't talk to anyone in there really. I'm either with the other officers or on my own. I don't like people. How dare you bring up my home life when you have no idea what I go through? You honestly make me sick, and if I ever hear it out of your mouth again, I will punch you in it. I love to hear him say that to someone who has it way worse than I do with physical abuse, starvation, and barely anything. I'll help them hurt him. But how we ended the meeting after Captain left was about my club that I was starting. And it honestly pissed me the hell off. It had no place being brought up, and it wasn't even his concern when it was being made with me and Captain. He was saying that I was assuming the position as president and taking hold of the reins and taking over everything, leaving no room for other people, especially already deciding my team, when really that was a voting thing. What's the criteria? That they have to be selfish like you, cold-hearted, walk over everyone lesser than them? I don't think so. I'm the one founding this club and going through the efforts of starting it and putting everything on the line to start it. Not you. You're going to be ruining other people's lives somewhere else. Leave my club alone, and I swear if I find out anything about you coming up to stop it, you will be completely dead to me. I left the meeting crying, shaking, and couldn't even talk about most of the stuff in the meeting that I wanted to, and was told that I could because of how shaken I was and the fact that you didn't want to acknowledge these things and just brush over them when I started to bring them up. To get into what you had done honestly pushed me off, and I knew from the start when I was told about the meeting that this is exactly what you were going to do. He's a manipulative liar who only cares about himself, doesn't care who he hurts, and will never take responsibility for himself. It's pretty sad when a 16-year-old knows more than an 18-year-old. He can honestly go to hell for everything that he has done, and I will never forgive him for what he has done to me. I can't wait to see how far this gets him. He ended his message saying how it wasn't about my name. It was about respect. When you have zero respect for me. When we first met, I was scared of you, looked up to you, and envied you, and even more. When now the last thing I want is to be you. You're a disgrace, and can't wait for you to see everything that I will do while I'm still there. And then in the future, and you realize how wrong you were. If in the future you end up working for me again, I will make you wish I was this way again. You say you hate my writing, but what do you think of this? I think it's my best yet. I love to hear you review. You are and will always be the cold-hearted president.